fallout in the FIFA situation, because FIFA bidding process for the 2026 World Cup postponed from Wednesday 10th of June 2015. FIFA has postponed the bidding process for the 2026 World Cup in light of the ongoing investigations into the award of the 2018 and 2022 tournaments. 2022. Its secretary Jerome Valcke, under pressure over a $10 million payment from South African World Cup organisers to the former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner, that US prosecutors say was a bribe, confirmed the move at a press conference in Russia, saying it would be nonsense to begin the process in the current climate. Now, FIFA election date to be set on July 20th, but Sepp Blatter will stay on. This is from the 11th of June 2015. A date for FIFA's new presidential election will be set on July 20th. The spokesman for football's governing body confirmed its executive committee will meet next month to finalise the timetable for an extraordinary electoral congress to decide Sepp Blatter's successor. The election is still scheduled to happen between December and February, and Blatter on Thursday rejected the European Parliament's call for him to stand down immediately. The 79-year-old tendered his resignation on June 2nd, despite winning a fifth term as president, but he has vowed to stay on and press ahead with reforms as two separate criminal investigations into alleged FIFA corruption remain ongoing. Now, a bit more of a fallout, because from the 11th of June 2015, FIFA Communications Director Walter Di Gregorio has been sacked. You're fired. After sealing his fate with a joke about the governing body on Swiss TV. Who says football can't take a joke? But Gregorio told Swiss chat show Shawinski, the FIFA president, secretary general and communications director are all traveling in a car. Who's driving? The police. Which is a pretty good joke. I like that. FIFA announced in a statement that Di Gregorio had relinquished his office, but apparently he was asked to leave by President Sepp Blatter. So, very interesting there. But Di Gregorio, who has held the role, who has held his current role since September 2011, is also understood to have clashed with Blatter after a disagreement with one of the president's allies. So FIFA said in its statement that Di Gregorio would remain with the organisation on a consultancy basis till the end of the year. Now, Gordon Taylor on 11th of June 2015 said, it's time for players to take a greater role in running the game, said Gordon Taylor, the chief executive of the Professional Footballers Association. Speaking at a World Players Congress Union Congress in Bulgaria, Taylor addressed the current off-field controversies. The game is tainted by corruption at the highest level, he said. We cannot leave a vacuum in FIFA to be filled with the same toxic problems as before. If we do not intervene now, we will forever regret it. Taylor, who was a professional for 18 years before retiring in 1980, says the best way of cleaning up the game is to get players' voices heard. The time is here to clean out the corruption, to place ourselves at the top table as guardians of the game. Where's Dave Bautista at? Oh no, that's Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyway, a game for players about players has not been run by players, and we are now seeing the results. Former Brazil forward Zico is going to apparently stand for the FIFA presidency. He's confirmed his intention to run for it when Sepp Blatter stands down, probably in December. UEFA President Michel Platini, who captained France to victory in Euro 84, is thought to be a likely contender as well. Taylor feels major reform is needed, which could even include moving FIFA out of Switzerland. It feels that even the location of its headquarters in a country where anonymity and secrecy prevail sets the wrong tone. That's an interesting one. Sepp Blatter may now seek to stay on as president from Sunday, June 14th, 2015. A Swiss newspaper reported that Blatter may seek to stay on as president of FIFA less than 2 weeks after Blatter resigned over a major corruption scandal at the organisation. He's under pressure to step down for good as US and Swiss authorities widen their investigations into bribery and corruption at the sport's global governing body. EU lawmakers are among those calling for his immediate departure, but according to Swiss newspaper Schweiz Sonntag, Schweiz am Sonntag, Blatter has received messages of support from African and Asian football associations asking him to rethink his decision to step down. Blatter was honoured by the support and had not ruled out remaining in office, the newspaper said, citing an anonymous source close to him. Oh, not again. Bearing in mind, Blatter does actually have priors in terms of changing his mind. Because remember, he did that in 2011. Yeah, I'm not going to stand for a fifth term. Still did, so careful of that. But as I said, EU lawmakers called on FIFA President Sepp Blatter on Thursday to step down immediately, saying that his failure to do so would delay ridding soccer's governing body of its rampant, systemic and deep-rooted corruption. The European Parliament voted by a clear show of hands in favour of an 8-page resolution with a series of demands to clean up the sport. FIFA said in a statement that it was perplexed, but later announced that the election of a new president would take place between December and February. As we mentioned, the European urgent reforms to root out corruption and restore FIFA's credibility could not begin in earnest until then, in terms of Blatter going. The European Parliament therefore calls on FIFA to select in a transparent and inclusive way an appropriate interim leader to replace Joseph Blatter forthwith. So, the fallout is there and it continues. Gezzie Fizzle, you want to jump in on this before I do?
I do think that, the sooner Sepp Blatter is removed for all intents and purposes, the sooner everything else can move forward in terms of dealing with the issues that have been kicked up like a hornet's nest. At the same time, though, I can kind of understand why everything has been moving so slowly. I'm not saying that it's necessarily a good thing. I think that this does need to be resolved sooner rather than later, and I do think that an interim leader, as well as an election for a long-term leader, all these things need to be put in place in action as soon as possible. There's no two ways about that. Right about now, just in terms of PR, okay, there is a big salvage job to be done for the reputation of FIFA. And the best way to do that at the moment, as I say, is to take everybody who's been associated with these corruption claims and get them away from FIFA in terms of their prominent positions as soon as possible. That needs to happen, just from a PR perspective. But right now, I think the thing that's being missed by a lot of people in terms of why everything is taking so long is all the legality involved. There's a lot of legal, how can I say this? A lot of legal proximity mines, shall we say?
Yeah.
That are left to go off if you move too quickly. So at the same time, while there's a lot of clamoring for Sepp Blatter to go and people not understanding why he hasn't just given it a title outright, understand that legally there are a lot of things in the background that aren't necessarily clear at the moment as to the reasons why. I think the biggest thing for frustrated fans in this scenario to understand is that the process is happening, but that the process is exactly that, a process.
Yeah.
And that certain things need to be done before the big change that everybody's clamoring for is actually in full effect.
No, very true, and nice GoldenEye reference in there as well. Don't think I missed that. The proximity mines, I love that. There could be there's probably some remote mines in terms of Blatter at some point. Anyway. But I mean, it is one of them. It is one of them ones where this whole situation is absolutely insane. I mean, the fact that people are expecting this stuff to happen quickly, and as Gezzie Fizzle mentioned, in terms of the legalities of it, I mean, it's like people, obviously a lot of people have said, oh yeah, Qatar should be stripped of 2022, Russia should be stripped of 2018. Like I said last week, it's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as just stripping it, and at the end of the day, there's so many legal pitfalls and as Gezzie Fizzle alluded to in his GoldenEye reference, there's a lot of legal proximity mines there. But I mean, it is one of them ones where, I mean, the EU lawmakers urging Sepp Blatter to go now. Those EU lawmakers, where were you 4 or 5 years ago when these allegations of corruption were coming up? Where were you then? The Americans they've beaten you to the punch in trying to get Blatter to go. We've beaten you to the punch. We've been saying it for 4 or 5 years. I've probably been saying it for a lot longer than that in terms of, Blatter needs to go. So these EU lawmakers coming in now, it's just like, no, you're a day late and $1 short. Blatter doing the U-turn thing. I don't know if he's an Usher fan, but come on, it's not hard to learn. Come on, it's called a U-turn. I make light of that, but still, it's one of them. It wouldn't surprise me if he did a U-turn and said, yeah, I'm not gonna resign after all. But then the onus would be on, if there is a transparent democratic election, then the onus would be on those involved in football to vote him out. And there's no guarantee of that after how the last election went. But then there's questions about that. Gordon Taylor wanting players to run football, dangerous game, because a lot of players, if they had a brain, they'd be out playing with it. So by all means, take on players' opinions on what could be improved in the game, but for God's sake, don't let players run it. That would be like me working at Sainsbury's and saying, yeah, Liam should be involved in running the corporation. No. That's just not smart. I ain't got no experience in that area. I can make suggestions on things that could be improved, but no. Even I would say that's outside of my zone of competence. Don't put me in them and say to me, here you go, run it. No. So it's one of them was. Now, Walter Di Gregorio being fired after the joke he made on TV, I think it's because that joke hit a little too close to home. The FIFA president, secretary general and communications director are all traveling in a car. Who's driving? The police. Love that. That is funny. To me, that is funny. But it's one of them ones. It seems like Seppi boy can't take a joke. It seems like he can't take a joke because that joke's hitting a little too close to home.
Well, I think there's one thing about making a joke, and then there's another thing about making a joke about the people that happen to put food on your table. Right? So the people generally that we go and make jokes about, generally speaking, okay, they're the people that there's a little bit of distance. Now, when you're gonna go and make jokes about the people that are putting food on your table while they're in the middle of something like this, listen, don't be completely and totally surprised if they are going to be a little reactionary and act with swift and, well, I suppose draconian measures and fashions.
The people them that pay your bills.
Right? That really doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, no.
But I think you're also right in regards to what you're saying about players potentially getting involved with running the game. No, just no. A lot of how we say that, being a great player doesn't necessarily equate to being a great manager. I think it'd be the same for FIFA board members, right? Obviously in UEFA you have Michel Platini, and he's probably an exception to the rule, and even with that at times, he's a part of the rule. Yeah. So that doesn't necessarily equate so well for me personally. And it reminds me a lot
ex-players and current players, it's kind of a different thing though, because ex-players,
yes,
they're not playing
they're still
anymore,
players.
so they can learn. Yeah.
They're still players, and they still have a player's mentality in a lot of cases. Yeah. Now, there's a parallel there with that, and Steve McLaren being a part of the Newcastle board, which is absolutely ridiculous to me.
Yeah, same.
Right? Because I say, well, how are you supposed to get rid of him if things don't go so well? He's not going to go and bet against himself, so it really doesn't work. In that regard, if you want to talk about legal proximity mines, there's a whole ton of them there. Right? i.e., do not try to come out of that corridor, yeah? Because it just won't work. It's as simple as that, right? So with putting players in those kinds of positions, right, unless they've gone and done a whole lot of additional courses where they've gone and they've learned about a lot of these things, I wouldn't trust any of them in that kind of role. Now, I'm not saying they couldn't be consultants or advisors. Of course they could, because they're the people with their ear to the ground. But in terms of making decisions, I would say no. I would actually argue that, you want somebody with decent business experience, probably want somebody with decent international and public relations experience as well now. At that kind of level, for me personally, being advised by the right groups of people.
Yeah, but see, that's where the crucial thing is, being advised by the right people. But then who picks those right people? The corrupt people at FIFA already. See, that comes in from Raheem Sterling and AD Ward. Obviously, that's not the right person, or at least it looks it to an extent. So there's where the question kind of comes in.
Well, for me, I wouldn't go and nominate another Council of Wisdom. No, I wouldn't go and do that, for example. But, I do think that, you're going to have to look at, say, for example, some of the most successful people in the history of football and get those people involved. So I'm saying, why not talk to, say, for example, some of the most successful managers? Why not talk to some of the most successful chairman? Why not talk to some of the most successful chief operating officers, so on and so forth, of the biggest football clubs that don't necessarily work at a club anymore, and consult those people? And the reason why you consult those people, arguably they were the best, right? Same with former players. Why not talk to some of the best former players? They will have some good ideas. Why not have all of them as an advisory panel? Here's the other thing: you don't have to agree with everything that they say, right? But you definitely have to go and take their suggestions on board. Why not start there? Ask them their opinion on all of the current issues and hot topics surrounding football, as opposed to this Council of Wisdom where I think there wasn't hardly anybody that had any previous history in football, much less sport. I think, wasn't Henry Kissinger one of those people?
Yeah. Henry Kissinger, Placido Domingo was involved as well on the side.
Right, and I'm pretty sure he was was he
a classical composer, or something like that. And
right.
It's like, what has he got to do with football? Henry Kissinger, what has he got to do with football? Both of them bugger all.
So as I say, in terms of my version of a cabinet of wisdom, not necessarily a council of wisdom, would feature, prominent former players, managers and CEOs.
Well, at least then,
and other business people. I would actually get some prominent business people in there as well.
See, I
really successful business people, because here's the other thing, right? There is the big business side of it, and you need to know how to go and orchestrate yourself in terms of all of the deals that would need to be done as well.
Yeah.
So I'd have one or two of those people there, along with a bunch of football people as well.
Well, it's one of them ones. At the end of the day, you would have to have someone experienced in running a big business, but also it's a case of you'd have to make sure, unlike players, who I think most players would are on a general basis out for their business rather than the business. So they're looking to make their money, make their career, and then get out. Most players ain't looking to give back until maybe after they finished, and it's like, even then some don't. So it is I think it is a good idea, and it's you do have to have a mix of different entities to make it work, and that's the key thing. I mean, Matt Plants actually just put a funny joke. I think Di Gregorio would probably have been better off getting fired for this one. The members of the FIFA committee who received Sepp Blatter's resignation letter were terrified to open it initially. Apparently, as a force of habit, he had sent it in a brown envelope instead of the commonly used white one. I like that. Di Gregorio should have got fired for that one. He should have dropped that on TV. But I mean, it is a case of with this whole situation, it's like I said last week, it's not going to be a quick fix. This FIFA situation is not going to be quick. So it's a case of, I mean it is legitimately a minefield, but we've got to make sure that the time is taken to sort the stuff out properly. So it is. I love this. FIFA president Sepp Blatter was close to tears after being given a 10-minute standing ovation by some 400 staff as he returned to its Zurich headquarters a day after announcing he was to step down. He paid for 20 minutes. That's terrible. But no. But coming back to the headquarters thing, moving the headquarters. I don't think that's going to do the greatest of good, to be perfectly honest. I mean, all right, it's a fair suggestion because of obviously how things are rumored to actually go in Switzerland in terms of the way the banks are run and kind of so the big high-flying corporate guys have got Swiss bank accounts, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. And there's the line in early on in the world, James Bond, The World Is Not Enough, where it's like, we know how difficult it is for a Swiss banker to give back money, and it's like, oh, okay, I get that. So, moving it. Where you gonna move it to? We gonna move it to Brussels. We gonna move it to London. It don't matter what city it's in. I think that's missing the point. Like a broken needle, I think that's missing the point. I mean, it's a case of if you move city, it doesn't mean that you're going to instantly miraculously change overnight. I mean, I wouldn't want it moving to, say, Trinidad and Tobago, for instance, but at the same time, it's just a case of moving city. No, there's systemic problems that go a lot deeper than the city that it's based in. Like I said last week and the week before, it's just ironic that the USA are involved in this, trying to clean it up, considering the corruption on their doorstep. So I don't know, corruption begets corruption, in my view. But you know what, yeah, it is one of them. Was the date being set for the 20th, and I think it's a smart move for the bidding process for the 2026 World Cup to be postponed, because you really can't have another World Cup bid when you've got the last two that are open, that have always been open to question for us since they were made in 2010, but now they are legally open to question. You can't go and have another one because the same questions are going to be asked about that. So I get that. That's the one thing FIFA have done right in this whole cluster F of a situation, is postpone the 2026 bidding process. It's probably the one thing they've actually done right. So at least they've done something. There's one positive in there. But Blatter staying on until a new president is found, I'm not surprised. You wouldn't want to leave that big a ship rudderless for any length of time. So it doesn't surprise me that he's staying on, at least as an interim boss, until someone else can be found.